Hey everyone, we have a special guest with us. Of course, as usual, hi Philip and Ryan, and we're doing it again.
Hello.
Hey, Ryan.
That was a little
Hey, it's good to be
teaser.
here. Yeah,
Hey, thanks for coming.
I'm happy to be here.
And we've got
now,
Bryce on our technical board today,
yeah.
too. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
He's our production. Yes, need to give a shout out or shout outs to.
Yeah, for sure.
Ryan's our special guest. He comes from you said LA, right? California, LA area.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
And I've heard a lot of good things about him, so I thought we'd have him on and hear his story and talk some entertainment. Just have a good time. But let's start at the beginning, Ryan. Where does Ryan start?
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. This is great. I haven't done a ton of podcasts. I've done a few, but this is great. It's always fun. I am. Yeah. So I live in Los Angeles area with my wife and kids, and we've been on here. I moved to LA in about 2009, and I moved back to Florida briefly, and then back to California pretty soon after that. But I grew up in Florida. I was born in this small-ish kind of city called Ocala, which is a little bit south of Gainesville, and yeah, I mean, I spent the first several years of my life there, and it was a cool place to grow up. I mean, I think a lot of people growing up, would always kind of talk sort of poorly about Ocala just because there's not a whole lot to do there. So people called it like Slow Cala. There's a lot of horse farms and a lot of older people. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Villages, which is kind of this old retirement community, but it's right there in Florida and close to Ocala. So, but I loved it. I mean, I had a great, fun childhood. I feel like I was a pretty happy kid. I was the youngest of three boys, and there was always something like exciting going on in the house. And yeah, my parents, my dad was a school teacher for several years, and my mom was as much of a stay-at-home mom as she could be. She actually cleaned like houses, and she cleaned our church building growing up, and cleaned a few like doctors and dentist office and things like that. And she was always kind of available for us as much as possible. So yeah, I had a great like relationship with my parents, and just a really good like family dynamic and family relationship. Really close with my brothers, and my oldest brother was always very smart and very athletic, and was just always like playing baseball, and was like a star athlete, star student. The middle brother of the family, Colt, he was always just an incredible performer, like since he was a young kid, and learned how to play all these instruments. Learned first, I think, on the drums, and then switched to guitar. And he just was always performing and wanted to be in front of people and wanted to be on stage. And I was kind of the observer. For a while, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to draw cartoons. That's all I did for a while, actually. And then I started. My middle brother Colt. He had this talent manager, and at the time they were doing more stuff in like Orlando and Miami for acting stuff, and so my brother started getting these acting gigs, and I would go with my mom to these gigs, and they would occasionally bring me on for like being an extra or something like that, and I was kind of like, oh, this is fun. And then there was this one commercial that my brother got the part in, and I was on set, and the director was kind of like, who's this other kid? And they swapped me and my brother. They're like,
oh, no.
Actually, this guy's might be better, like for what we're looking for. So luckily like that, my brother doesn't hold that against me, but
Okay, good.
that was kind of the intro into me being like, oh, I actually really love acting and performing. And I was at like 8 or 9 years old. And so I was in like second grade. I started going to auditions like all the time for commercials and shows. And, um, you know, was really fortunate because I actually, I booked quite a bit of things at a young age and really loved it. It was kind of a weird thing because no one else like at my school was doing that. And so I
Mhm.
would get pulled out of school to go to auditions or go to shoots or whatever. And really loved it. And I actually like from, kind of like second to maybe like sixth grade was really, really into it.
Hmm.
And because I was so into it and because I was getting pulled out of school so much, I asked my mom if she would be willing to homeschool me for middle school
Oh,
because
wow.
I just felt like I was missing so much school. And so she homeschooled me sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. And it's funny because like people are like, oh, that must have been kind of boring or whatever. I loved it. It was the best. It's seriously like some of the best years of my life because middle school is just a weird time for
It is.
life. You're going
It's
through
most
these
people's worst years.
changes. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I had, luckily I had church, and so I had church friends. So I didn't ever feel like I was
Good.
like missing out on things.
So
And
can I ask a
yeah,
question? Can
yeah,
I
of
ask you
course,
something?
yeah,
So I mean, to me, I think okay, and you can correct me. I picture if a parent, a parent taking their kids to these auditions, I picture this stage parent, and
right,
they're like,
yeah,
"Here's my son," and I'm,
yeah,
kind of like, I don't know what word I want to use, but like, here, pushing Johnny forward all the time. How
hmm
did your parents, because I don't know if I would be ready to take my son to auditions now.
yeah.
So how did your
Good
parents
question.
think about that? How'd they handle that? How'd they get started even wanting to do that?
Yeah, it was a very like natural occurrence. I think there was someone else at our church who knew a talent manager. Again, my brother Colt was always like performing, and they were just like, "You got to get this guy on camera. Like he's so funny, and like he's just all over the place." And so it kind of just started very organically. We weren't really seeking it out. And my parents were, of course, like approaching it very cautiously. There would be scripts that they would send over that my parents would be like, absolutely not, we're not going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
If there was ever an audition that happened on like a Sunday, they'd say like, sorry, we can't make it. We're going to be at
Mm-hmm.
church.
Mm.
So, and I mean, it'll always stick out in my mind, like every audition, you did see those stage moms or stage dads. It was mostly moms, but no, nothing against. It was just mostly moms that would take their kids to auditions, and you did see those types. But my mom always encouraged humility, and we would always kind of be off in the corner. And before I would go in, or my brother would go in, she'd always pull us aside, and she would like we'd say a little prayer together, and um, it always was approached, I feel like, in a very healthy,
That's good.
natural
Mm.
way.
I wasn't saying your parents were
No, I
stage
didn't think of
parents,
that.
but
I didn't
it's
think
just
that.
kind of like that's my like persona when I think about a
Of
kid
course.
going to,
Yeah.
tryouts. I'm like, oh my, their parents are nuts,
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
seemed
of
but
like
course.
it seemed like they were supporting your interests, but then also understanding like priorities and things like that.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you
100%.
you can do anything. It doesn't make you not a Christian by what you're, mostly by you can, do it in a Christian manner. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So it
Yeah,
sounds
and
like
I think
you did, but
yeah,
it's just
and I think
interesting.
the cool thing was like my dad, he always wanted all of us to play sports, and he always really wanted us all to play baseball, and was always trying that. And I think, like I said, no, they were not expecting us to be into like acting or performing. But when you have kids and you see kind of what they're naturally good at, you start to say like, oh, maybe we should let them pursue this thing that they're actually good at and actually enjoy doing. And
True. Yeah.
so yeah, I always felt really just it was always a very healthy thing. And then by the time I got to sixth grade, actually, it was like I think at that point the rejection did kind of start to sink in a little bit more, where I was kind of like, I don't really like traveling 3 or 4 hours for these auditions and then not booking it, or
Mm.
getting my hopes up about this callback and then not getting the part, and I think just for a kid, it kind of does kind of weird things to your mind. And so I just decided, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. uh, and I had these neighbors who lived across the street, and they had a camcorder, and we were always just making movies. And I was like, this is way more fun because we're doing our own thing, and we're getting to do whatever we want, and performing our stuff. And so that kind of started that love. And then by the time I went to high school, I was in public high school, and our high school had this TV productions program, and I got super into that, super into drama and musical theater in high school.
Hmm.
And I think the combination of those TV productions and drama and musical theater was just like the perfect combo for me. And it kind of steered the course for my adult life, honestly. I had this great TV productions teacher. His name was Mr. Krisalka, and he was just incredible. And he taught me like so much stuff about recording, editing, and I just, I didn't even realize at the time because I just thought it was fun, but I didn't realize how much it would actually like shape my future and my interests. And so yeah, I mean, high school for me, again, like I know people have like weird high school experiences and things like that. Um, it was actually hard, like ninth grade, going in from being homeschooled. I didn't know anybody. It was a very shocking thing to see, like, kind of where I left off in fifth grade at public school, and then like just jump to ninth grade, which was just like, oh my gosh, this is completely different in so many ways. And it took a little while to like find my footing and like find my group of friends and stuff like that. But yeah, I was always very comfortable doing what I was doing and didn't feel like pressured to like, be someone that I wasn't, or, go to these parties or things like that. I was always the guy with the camera walking around interviewing people at school, which was cool because I actually like, that's how I got to know a lot of people,
Yeah.
and how they
Oh,
got to know me.
interesting.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
y'all have any type of like TV station or media that you did for the high school or something like that? Or
Yeah, we had like a high school news channel.
that's
And
cool.
so, yeah, I was always trying to make videos. Like I always wanted to make like the intro video for the news, and I always wanted to make like these sort of cutaway segments and stuff like that. And yeah, it's I still have like the tapes, all the tapes of what I did, in high school, and sometimes I'll go back and watch it and be like, wow, I can't believe I thought that was good, and and or maybe that was actually like not that bad. But
That's funny.
yeah, some good memories. But yeah, and then I really, I debated for a while about going to film school because it was such a huge passion.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a couple of film schools. I was looking at FSU. They had a good program, and of course there was Full Sail, which was super expensive. And I was going to the like church camps and stuff like that, and Florida College kept coming up, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do this. My brothers went there. My parents actually met there and stuff. So, at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I can go to anywhere, but I kind of want to see what Florida College is like and try it. And so I gave it a try, and it was great, and I'm happy I did, I
So
had
for
a lot of
What'd you get your
that,
degree in?
so for anybody that doesn't know what
Yeah.
Florida College is, it's a small
Yeah.
private Christian school, obviously in Florida, but
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, not a huge university or anything like that, but
No, not at all. I mean, yeah, it was for a long time. It was just a 2-year liberal arts college, and people would go. They'd get their AA, and they'd go somewhere else. And by the time I went there, they had started some 4-year programs, and so I just decided to go try it out for a year or two, and yeah, really like just fell in love with the culture there, and the people. Had a great time. It was great. My wife and I actually met there. We did not know each other really that well while we were going to school there, and then we were placed in this public relations group together at the end of my freshman year. It was the end of her sophomore year, and we got put in this public relations group together and traveled around all summer, going to these different camps, and just got to know each other really well that way. We started dating shortly after, long distance. She was in Kentucky, I was in Florida. When you're 19 or 20, like, long distance is it's pretty tricky to do. But we had broken up a couple times and kept getting back together. And I think that was also like, it was just a tricky time because we were both trying to figure out our lives. We were both trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And she wanted to be a nurse and go to nursing school. I wanted to work in television, and felt like in order to do that, I had to move somewhere. And so I was, trying to find some opportunities. And I actually had gone up to New York City with a buddy of mine just for a spring break trip or something like that. And we went to a church up there and just were talking to people. And I met this woman who worked at the Martha Stewart show. And we talked for a long time and talked just kind of about backgrounds and stuff like that. She was like, you should come by the show and just check it out and meet some people or whatever. And so I came by and met a few people. And there was this one woman I met. Her name was MT, and she was like, hey, have you ever thought about being an intern at a talk show? And I was like, well, not really, but that sounds really cool. And I was like, does it pay anything? She's like, no, it doesn't, but it's a foot in the door. And so I came back to Florida. I was just like, I couldn't stop thinking about going back to New York to work for this show for free. And
true.
Yeah, right. And I
In
talked
New York,
about it with my parents, and they were just like, no, I don't think this is a good idea. Like, I don't think you should do this. And so I had a little bit of a hard time because it was all I could think about. And when you have your mindset on something, you just feel like this is it. This is what I have to do. It's hard to kind of like do anything else. I think I was working at the Apple store in Tampa, and
So is this post graduation?
this was this was mid college, actually. This was like fourth year of college.
And what'd you get I know George asked, and I think I interrupted.
Sorry.
What'd you get your degree in earlier?
I ended up getting my degree. I was a religious studies major for a bit, and then I changed to business, and I got my degree in business administration. And and so part of the business program at Florida College was to do an internship somewhere. And so I kept saying to my dad, like, I just want to go up there and try this out and see how it goes, And I mean, I finally convinced him to, be okay with it. And I needed that. I needed like his blessing. I just wasn't the type to be like, see, I'm going up to New York,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I just needed like to know my parents. It goes back to the whole acting thing and them just kind of being in my corner for my whole life. It just didn't feel right when they weren't,
Something was off. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I needed them to know, like, hey, I want to do this. I think it's the right thing, and I think it could be interesting. And so, yeah. In long story short, I went up there, and I mean, Martha Stewart, man, that was an adventure. I spent 4 or 5 months working at the show there. And
what did you do there at the show? What were
so they had they each semester hired about 4 or 5 production interns, and it was it was interesting because I had never really watched the Martha Stewart show. Of course, I knew who Martha Stewart was.
It's a good thing.
It was a good thing. Yeah, exactly. And she had, she had this studio space in Chelsea where she did her talk show, and then she had like 3 or 4 other like major locations in New York where she was doing stuff, and so I was a production intern, and that just kind of involved a little bit of everything. And yeah, back in 2008 when this was before some sort of like, I think there was some sort of lawsuit. I don't know, not with Martha, but with just internships as in general. And this was like pre getting paid for internships. So we were just 5 interns working for free, and like, man, we got worked pretty hard. I mean, there was
Slave labor.
always stuff to do. Yeah, I mean, there was just always stuff to do, and we would get there at like 6:45 or 7 in the morning. I would come from the Upper East Side where my dorm was, and I would take the bus to the train and walk and blah blah blah, and get there at like 7 a.m. And yeah, I mean, it was just like a little bit of everything. It was like everything from doing coat checks for the ladies coming in and sitting in the audience to going out and getting coffee for people, or
So what
going
was
on the production
Martha?
runs.
So was it her like lifestyle show, or was it an actual talk show she was doing?
It was a talk show. Yeah. She did
Oh,
a
so
talk
she
show.
interviewed people. It wasn't like her around the house thing that she does.
It was a little bit of everything, because they had these sort of segments in the field where she would do
Okay.
certain things, or we would do episodes like at her house and stuff like that.
So what was she like?
Honestly, like, I was really fascinated by Martha.
Yeah.
Because I recognized that like right away. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, this woman's like pretty amazing, because she's
Mhm.
built this empire,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and she has all these fans, and it was just it was really like eye-opening to see. And I really like enjoyed every minute of just sort of analyzing, like, okay, what does it take to make a show work? What does it take to make an audience happy? Like, what is
Mhm.
she doing that is working so well for these people? It was really like it was a study. It was a
Hmm.
college course, and I mean, people at the show, of course, were like stressed and running around like crazy and trying to make sure that everything got done on time. And that's just kind of the nature of a live show anywhere, but when I think you have someone like Martha who has such a reputation, you have some nerves and some stress that come along with that,
Yep. Yeah.
but I was always really impressed by the people who worked for Martha, who were totally cool and kept their composure and knew what they were doing. And it was those people that like Martha trusted more, who knew that this was that everything was going to get done that needed to get done. There's a
Mhm.
trust there, and not to flash forward too much, but I had left the show and went to work for Conan O'Brien, and I was an intern. I really didn't feel like I had a couple interactions with Martha. I really didn't feel like she would remember me after I
Mhm.
left or anything like that. But she came on Conan one time as a guest, and I just happened to be standing in the hallway, and she walked by and saw me and gave me this big hug, and I was like,
Wow.
"Oh my goodness,
Wow.
Ryan, it's so good to see you,"
Wow, that's great.
and so I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Well, she remembered who I was, and
Well, you
yeah.
have an image of people that she's a certain way, I
Sure.
mean, you just
Yeah.
picture she seems very particular, which she probably is, but that's amazing that she remembered you from the time before, So
Yeah, I mean, she appreciated you.
yeah.
Yeah, well, she had such a good eye for things, and
Yeah.
that was what was amazing, and that's what I think like propelled her into such success. Was just like it really was like she had an incredible knack and an incredible eye for things.
Mhm.
And there were some funny things that happened. I mean, while I was there as an intern was the first time that she had Snoop Dogg on the show, and then that blossomed into this other kind of relationship between the two of them. But it was pretty hilarious actually, because like we didn't have guests like that very often,
Yeah.
that came on the show. Snoop Dogg was like a pretty peculiar guest to come
Yeah.
on the show, and he came on and he had like his entourage of people with him and stuff like that. And I just remember standing downstairs, and this costume wardrobe assistant running down, and she was like frantic, and she's like, "What size waist are you?" Like talking to me, and I was like, 30, and she goes, "Are you wearing a belt?" And I said, "Yeah," and she said, "Snoop Dogg needs to borrow your belt. His pants keep falling down." And she's like, "We don't have any men's belts on our show," and I was like, "Okay, sure," So I took off my belt, and
So Martha
Snoop
couldn't
Dogg.
make a belt like at the moment,
Not
out
that
of
quickly. I don't
out
think.
of hand sewn leather or something,
Yeah, right.
or out of apple cores.
Oh man, she probably could have. That's the thing. She probably could have. They probably didn't even let her know.
Yeah, that's
They didn't-
probably. Yeah,
They didn't want to stress
That's
her
not-
out.
Yeah, that's not her job. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
Snoop Dogg, he borrowed my belt for the show, and then, it's funny. He's walking out, leaving, and he's getting in the car. I'm like, I don't have my belt, and I was like, oh, I don't have money to afford to buy a new belt. I'm, working for free here. And so, you know, I chased after it. I ran outside. I was like, excuse me. And his people
Mr.
were,
Dog.
yeah.
DOWG.
His people were like, "Hey, buddy, back up." I was like, "No, he's got my belt on," and so he took off his belt and gave it back to me. So that was nice. But yeah, um,
That's funny.
yeah, it was good. We did get college credit for that internship. By the way, it
Oh, you
wasn't
did?
just like completely free. Yeah, it was like they actually like had to give us something, and so they, college credit was what we got. But
How'd you,
while I was, yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
How'd you make your living there in New York? Like, how'd you afford to live there?
Yeah, so when I went up there to work at the Martha Stewart show, I told them like, "Hey, I'm only going to be available 3 days a week." And actually, it was perfect because Martha only filmed 3 days a week,
Oh.
so I was only there on the show days, and then on the other days, I think it was Monday, Friday, and Saturday, I worked at the Apple store. Just specialist salesperson.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that was super
Interesting.
cool too, because, I feel like at that time, 2008, the Apple store was kind of still this sort of novel location. And,
Yeah.
there were only 3 locations at the time in New York. There was Soho and 14th Street and that Cube location. And it was cool because at the Soho location where I was, they actually had this like stage and theater, and they would have concerts there. And so we would have these like bands come and play. It was pretty
Wow.
awesome. Yeah. I can't remember, like I know Randy Newman came and played a show while I was there. I'm trying to think of some other people.
So
That's
all this time in New York, did you miss your family? Were you homesick, or were you having too good of a time to even think about it?
I was really busy. I was
Yeah.
really, really busy. And as a matter of fact, like Kate and I had been trying to do long distance. She was in California. I was in Florida. And that was just really hard just because
That's very long distance.
Yeah.
yeah, long distance, time change, busyness. And so, during that time in particular, we had broken up, and that was hard. And I remember it was hard for both of us, but I think just going back to like, I was so busy with work, Martha, and also I was doing like online courses at the time too. So it's just like there was never a dull moment, And I did miss my family, and I think my mom had come up to visit, and my brother came to visit, and I had another friend that came to visit. So it was like pretty like stacked. I didn't have much time to think about anything else. But
Mhm.
and then I went home for Christmas. And then, I had to break the news to my dad, "Hey, I have this other opportunity in New York that I really want to go back for." And I was like, "But after this, I will come back," And that was for Conan. I had gotten an internship at the late night show with Conan before he moved out to LA to do the Tonight Show. And I was just I couldn't have been happier because I had been obsessed with Conan for so long.
You kind of have Conan hair.
Yeah, it is a little. Well, right now, especially, it's very Conan-ish. But
Hey, it's a good thing. I don't have any to mess with, so that's a good thing.
But yeah, I mean, Conan and SNL. Like, I had tapes in my closet of just like so many sketches, and he was just my favorite. And I managed to get this internship opportunity there at Conan, and couldn't believe it. I was like, I have to do this. His show only has 3 months left, and then it's moving to LA. This is like a chance to be a part of this iconic franchise of late night TV. I mean, he started in 93, and this was in 2008. So this was the very end, and man, it was the best. It was like, I loved my time at Martha, and I was really grateful for the opportunity, but it kind of made me feel like maybe I don't want to work in television. I had that thought while I was there. I kind of thought like, I don't know
What
if I
made
really
you
want to
think
work
that?
here. I think just the kind of the environment a little bit. And I think that might have just had something to do with the show itself not being something that I was like super into, So,
Mhm.
it's hard like when you're
More of
not
a
really like,
maybe more of a woman's show, or women's
Yeah,
interest or just not your interest?
it
Yeah.
maybe just
You
not
didn't vibe
mine,
with it.
honestly. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
especially like at that time in my life as like a 19, 20-year-old guy, just it was not something I really had my interest in. But
Yeah.
Hmm.
I learned a lot from that show. I learned a lot, and that was one of the cool. The intern coordinator there at the Martha show was so good about being like, "Hey, what do you want to learn today? Do you want to sit in the control room? Do you want to work with the director? You want to work with the show carpenter?" Like, she was great, and I had so many opportunities to like just do different things there. So that was awesome. But when I went to Conan, I kind of had my faith revived a little bit, and just like, oh, maybe I can work in TV because maybe there are other gigs for me that would be more interesting. And so, yeah, I mean, that was a blast being at Conan, and it changed everything for me because I was just like, I have to do this. I have to work here, Um, and I think a lot of that had to do with just like Conan, and the writers there, and also just kind of the energy. I was a totally different energy going from morning talk show to like late night talk show,
Oh, yeah. I didn't think
completely
about that.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it fit me way more at the time, I think, And so,
Was it a little more free and loose, maybe?
well, you still had the demands and the pressure of being like, hey,
But the
this is a
show
a
itself?
daily show that has to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the show itself, you saw them just kind of goofing around more.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it was artful goofiness,
Yeah.
if that makes any
Especially on a
sense.
show that's supposed to be predominantly funny, or
Yeah,
he's supposed to be funny and entertaining, and
right,
yeah. Yeah.
right.
He's not serious in any way.
Yeah. And yeah, it was a really just amazing time, because it was the last 3 months of late night. And because it was the last 3 months, I mean, the guests were great. The musical guests were great.
Who'd you get to see that were like somebody amazing for you, or like that stood out as a guest?
Oh my goodness. I mean, that was the thing, is like there were so many people that
Just
came
everybody.
on,
Yeah.
and you were kind of like, I can't believe I'm standing a few feet away from like Jerry Seinfeld in the hallway, like,
That's pretty
and
cool.
Wow.
you
Yeah.
got the white stripes coming in to play the last show. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I just, yeah, it was incredible. It was really
Mhm.
incredible.
Mhm.
And one thing, and I feel like I'm talking so much, so anytime you guys want me to stop, please just
You're
cut
good.
me off.
I love listening.
One thing that was so different about the internship at Conan was when I got there, I was kind of shocked because I went from a place that had 5 interns, which were really like leaned upon, to Conan having about 50 interns, 40 or
Wow.
50 interns.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was kind of like, what is going on here? And a lot of these interns had been there for several months. And I was like a little discouraged right away, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to make a name for myself here. Like, I'm not going to like cut through the rest of these interns that have been here for longer. And what I kind of realized pretty quick was like, Conan, they liked having a lot of interns because one of the main parts of the show was rehearsal, or one of the main parts of the day was rehearsal, where they would bring everybody down into the audience, and Conan would try out jokes, he'd try out sketches, and they would kind of lean on this group of college age students and interns to see like what was working and what wasn't working. And so that was kind of a big part of the job for these interns. And so because of that, I think a lot of interns felt like that was their only reason they were there, and they didn't really like doing anything else. Not to like dog on anybody, but like some of them just got like a little bit lazy. We're just like, well, I'm just going to go down to rehearsal and watch rehearsal. And so no one wanted to do like the coffee runs or the lunch runs, or like, go on these kind of mundane tasks to get things. So I was like pretty quick, like, I want to do everything. I want to answer the phone when it rings, and like go to 8th Avenue and pick up this random tape for somebody, like in research or whatever, and I just started doing as much as I could. And I'd walk around the offices and just ask people like, hey, do you need anything? Like, can I get you anything? And yeah. And then I kind of was just like, I can't stop working here. It's so great. And I knew they were going to come out to LA. I also was just kind of like, in the back of my mind, well, and all of my mind. I was thinking, is there a way I can get back together with Kate, who was out in California? So I was like, maybe I can go out to California, try to work for the show, maybe get back together with Kate. And so I was asking around. I asked HR. I was like, can I come out and keep interning in LA when he does the Tonight Show? And they're like, no, it doesn't work that way. They were like, it doesn't work that way.
Sorry.
And I was like, well,
Well, why not?
There's got to be a way, And so there were these two producers, Sarah Fedorovich and Tracy King, and they were just these two amazing producers. And I started asking them how I could help them, do stuff for them. And so I got kind of close with both of them, and I just said, hey, when this ends, if you guys go out to LA, like, what would happen if I just showed up? Would you guys let me keep interning? And I think they were kind of like, they had so much on their mind. They were like, I don't know. I get like, sure. If you want to come out there and intern, like, fine, that's fine. Again,
like,
this was,
okay. That's a deal.
Yeah.
Right,
well, this was pre the days of getting paid for internships. So they were kind of like, yeah, I guess if you want to drive out and work for free, like, that's up to you. And so that's exactly what I did. I mean, the show ended end of February, beginning of March. I got in my car. I drove out to LA and literally just showed up at the Universal Studios lot and was like,
were you still a
here.
student at FC, or had you graduated?
I was still a student. I was still doing online courses. And yeah, I just was like, I gotta do this.
So you drove from New York to Los Angeles.
That's a drive.
I flew back to Florida and drove to Los Angeles.
That's still quite a drive.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was pretty crazy. I came out here and started interning at the show, and I was also working at an Apple store.
Back
I always had that card,
Same song, different coast.
Open. Exactly. Yeah. Sold a lot of computers, a lot of phones. They pretty quick were like, hey, Ryan, like, it would be really great if you could be here 5 days a week. And I was like, I gotta make some money. I can't do that, And they're like, well, we'll give you a job. We'll actually like bring you on staff. And so that's how I got a job at Conan. And I started working full time, and I was a production assistant at first. And then it's like, once the show kind of started getting staffed up and the producers came back, there was this producer, Dan Ferguson, who heard that there was this kid who drove across country to work for free. And he was like, I kind of want that guy as my assistant.
There we go. Yeah. Talk about initiative.
Like, yeah, exactly. So this guy, Dan Ferguson, and this other producer, Rachel, they hired me as their assistant. And so they were the producers who did the guest segments on the show. And so anytime a guest came on the show, what they would do is they would do like a pre-interview with the guest. They would call the guest, talk for about an hour, more or less, and just kind of scratch the surface on like, okay, what are some interesting things going on in your life right now? What are some funny things that have happened lately that Conan could talk to you about? And they would sort of weed through all these stories and things like that to try to find the most interesting little nuggets. And and then they would have a meeting with Conan and go through everything and sort of narrow it down to an 8-minute kind of segment. And so I learned a lot doing that job. And Tonight Show was so fun. It was so amazing. You have this sort of like prime time new show on NBC. All eyes are on the show. All eyes are on Conan. A lot of pressure, and I definitely, everyone saw that. It was great. It was really cool.
So would you actually call the celebrities yourself and talk with them, or did you just work in that department? Or
I would mostly. There were some times where I would be on the call too, but most of the time I would be the ones talking to like the agents or the managers and setting up the times.
Okay.
And then making sure the call happened when it was supposed to happen.
Okay.
And then I would transcribe the interview. This was pre AI, so I would be the one typing out the whole hour-long interview.
Did it?
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't even realize that type of thing happened in the entertainment world on interviews, but I guess it does. So somebody from your office would call, like, say, Mariah Carey and be like, "Hey,
Sure.
what's interesting about you?" Or would he just be talking to the agent? I just have trouble picturing a star would want to talk about that, but I don't know. That's why I'm asking. So
That's a good question, honestly,
Yeah.
because I would say like maybe.
I guess for someone like Mariah Carey, you can easily look up what's interesting.
Well, you
Sorry.
can. So that's actually an interesting point. So we had a team of research people at the Conan show. There were like 3 or 4 people in research. And what they would do before the interview is they would give the producer this huge file that said like, here's everything that I was able to find about this person right now. And so usually 7 times out of 10, they could get the guy, the actor or performer, whoever it was, the guest on the show on the phone. And so the producer would have done their research, figured out what they wanted to ask this person on the phone, and usually have an hour of interesting topics or things like that to cover,
Okay.
If there was a celebrity or guest that was like super hard to get a hold of course there would be some communication like via email of like, can we talk about this? Can we talk about this? And that just didn't happen too often. I feel like everybody that came on the show knew that was kind of like protocol, for you do these talk shows, you have to kind of be kind of pre-screened as far as like what we're going to talk about,
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, the Tonight Show, for those who maybe listeners who don't remember, this was 2009, and the show started in June of 2009, and then there was a whole thing with Jay Leno that happened, and February of 2010, the show was canceled and ended.
Yeah, I remember he didn't have a long tenure on the Tonight Show, but
Correct.
I can't remember all about it. Yeah.
So,
I think Jay Leno decided he wanted to do it or something like that. I can't remember.
Right. So,
for
like,
sure.
Jay Leno's contract was up. He didn't really want it in the show, but like, they gave Conan the Tonight Show. Jay Leno felt like he still wanted to be on the air, so they gave him like a 10 o'clock slot, which didn't exist really at the time for talk shows and stuff. So Jay Leno started hosting a talk show at 10 o'clock, and the ratings weren't very good. And so they thought, well, maybe we should move Jay Leno back to 11:30, where we know he works, and then maybe we can move Conan to 12, and it still be the Tonight Show, but it's at 12 o'clock. And it was just kind of a messy situation, and at the end of the day, it just didn't work out, and so they ended their contract to Conan, and Conan was incredibly loyal. I mean, Conan, let me just say, is so amazing. I love Conan. He's such an amazing performer and writer, and he just has an incredible mind, and he's just a good person in general. And he was devastated for his staff that all moved across country to work for his show. And so, there at the time there was a lot of momentum, and so Conan got this settlement from NBC, and he paid all of his employees for 4 months just to stick around.
It's really nice.
Yeah. And he said, we're gonna have something. I just know we're gonna have something. And so all these people were just kind of waiting and sticking around, So yeah, that was kind of that was that. But it was great. I mean, it was a great time, and really just an incredible experience.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So after Conan ended,
so
you're out of a job.
It's kind of interesting. I stayed in LA for a little bit. I got an agent and started going to auditions because I had the time. I actually had free time to go to these auditions and stuff, and was kind of like, oh wow, I remember this thing that I used to do a long time ago where I would go to auditions and and something was kind of nagging at me to go back to Florida for a little bit, and so that was when I went back to Florida for about a year and just lived at home. I needed to finish a couple classes at Florida College and did those, and then I was just really missing Los Angeles and just missing Kate, missing the Conan show, and just felt like, okay, I need to get back out there. And so, moved back out again in 2011 And yeah, worked for Conan on TBS. That was great. Was the writer's assistant there for a little while. And that was incredible because I was actually on the monologue team. We would work with Conan every day on the show Monologue, which was just so much fun, you know. And
Did you help write that?
I
Write
would,
Yeah.
monologue?
so I would every morning would just be scouring the news, and I had a team of interns under me too, and we would all just be scouring the news, looking for different premises and things like that that were interesting, and we would send those to the team of monologue writers who would then just spend all day writing. And throughout the day, we would just continue to look for premises, and we would write the premise and send it to the monologue writers, and they would, you know, finish the
See,
joke and stuff like
I'm
that.
so naive. I just assumed Conan wrote his own monologue. You know,
Well, so
like
Conan,
like every day he woke up and he's like, "These are the funny things I'm thinking. Here's my monologue." But it
you know, and that
turns
was
out it wasn't.
well, you know, you had people who kind of put together a little bit of a blueprint for him, but the amazing thing was like sitting in these meetings with Conan and seeing how his brain worked and seeing how he could take a joke that was already funny, but rewrite it to make it even funnier, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And you
And
got to see
so-
that in real time.
Yeah, yeah. I got to see that, and you know, just have such a huge appreciation for him. I mean, I learned so much from just not only Conan, but these amazing writers. Like, you know, there's my boss was Brian Kiley, who I just think is one of the funniest people in the world, and there's Josh Comers, and there's Jesse Popp, and there's Laurie Kilmartin, all these other writers that are just so talented.
The delivery
And
is
Rob
what
Kuttner.
is. You can write. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
You can write a great joke, but it's the delivery that's funny. So if he doesn't deliver it funny, you know, so
Yeah.
obviously he has a talent for that. So just like you were saying,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So, it was cool. It was a cool job. I mean, we had, at the time there was one year where he hosted the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And that was crazy because it was like, we had the show, we would do the show every day, and then we'd stay 3 or 4 hours later every night and work on the White House Correspondents' Dinner jokes.
Wow.
And that was like, you know, a month or two of doing that. But everything was such a cool learning experience while I was there, and you know, really feel thankful and lucky for my and yeah, I in about 2014, I had been married for a couple of years to Kate. We finally made it work. Me and
Finally
Kate.
got it going. It's about time. Good grief.
I know. We finally said, you know what? It's all or nothing here. We either get
Yeah.
married or we break up again, and we never.
That was like a soap opera
So-
storyline that took so
It really
long to
was.
happen. Yeah.
I know it really was. It really was. Bless her heart for just sticking along for the ride.
So patient.
I know, very patient. Yeah, no, she had gone to nursing school, become a nurse. She was a pediatric ICU nurse. She was working at the Children's Hospital out here, and then I was working at Conan. We had been married for a couple of years, and just I felt like, okay, what's the next step in my career? So I started looking around, and there was a guy that had worked with me at Conan, who had left and gone to Disney about a year before I left, and he really loved it and called me up one day and said, "Hey, I have this job. It's in the on-air promo department at Disney Channel. I think you'd be really good at it, and why don't you come over and interview for the job?" So it happened very organically, and I went over. I had no idea what on-air promos meant. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know that was a team of people that put these promos together. And yeah, so that was a huge shift for me and a huge jump. And I went over. It was in graphics. It was a graphics coordinator job, which was way different than what I was doing because I was doing writer's assistant stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm the right person for this. And this guy, Chris, was like, he's like, you'll be great. You have production experience. You have a good eye. That's all that's really like you need for this job. And you need to be like a good manager of vendors and agencies and stuff like that. And so I did it. And I honestly it was a really tough transition for me because I loved Conan so much and had such a good time there. And then, yeah, you start on a new team, totally new people, totally different vibe of what you're doing. And I just had a hard time for like a year, just being like, did I make the right choice, or
Hmm.
is this the right thing for me? And of course, I love Disney. Like, I came from the Orlando area, so I grew up going to Disney, and just was like, man, there's got to be something here at Disney that can work for me. And I had been performing a lot here in LA at this theater called the Upright Citizens Brigade. It's like an improv theater. And
What kind of improv were you doing? Just, I
this
guess,
was
anything?
this was like long form improv.
Improving?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Making it up as I go. Uh, I had a team that I was on, and we had just taken classes together, and we had done all the courses at this school, at this Upright Citizens Brigade school, and we started doing the show, and it was actually like a really great show, and we had a blast doing it. They gave us a spot at UCB to do the show every month, and
Wow.
it was really cool. It was a lot of fun, and this one creative director at the time who was working for Disney Channel, he came to me one day and was like, hey, like, I know you do comedy stuff. And he's like, I'm having a hard time with these sketches that we're trying to do. And he's like, do you think you could come take a stab at them? And so I was like, this could be the moment. This is my moment to actually like get out of this job. So I started doing that, and it just went really well. And that opened this door that I needed to be opened. And it was to write and produce promos for Disney Channel. And it was a really great change. It was a change that I needed, and that happened around 2016. I started doing promos for Disney XD, which was kind of like, at the time, it was sort of more like animation that was aimed and targeted towards boys like 8 to 11, 8 to 12. You had shows like Phineas and Ferb and Big City Greens and Amphibia and stuff like that. So I got to start producing these promos. And so for those listeners who might not know what that is or whatever, if you're watching Disney Channel or Disney XD and they cut to a break, you have like these spots, which are like 15-second or 30-second spots, which are promoting future episodes or new show or something like that. And it's packaged in this little 30-second format. And yeah, it was super fun. I mean, the writing and producing was everything from finding the music for the promo, writing the script for the promo, finding the sound bites, doing the scratch voiceover, and then working with an editor to kind of piece it all together. And then you have to go through all these rounds of approvals with creative directors, and then there's the showrunners and things like that all get to see it. And then, of course, there's the finishing part of it where you go to a finishing house and you do the color and the audio mix, and you do the final voiceover with the voiceover artist. So it's a really like fun puzzle. And I kind of was this amazing awakening inside of me of like, man, all these things that I've done in my life with writing and with playing music and with doing acting and like working on film and doing editing stuff, all kind of coming together to do this thing of making promos, which again, I didn't even really know was a job. And I was kind of like, oh, this is actually a really good fit for me.
That's cool how it all works together.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and now that, so that was 2016 when I got that job writing and producing.
I'm still I got to ask you something. I'm still stuck on the improv part. So
Yeah.
how, I mean, I've gone to some of these improv shows and they're absolutely amazing. How
Sure.
you just throw an idea out. I mean, how, like I can think of something on the fly funny at times, but not as a group, not me working with a group or someone else, working with things together. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, how is it just, you can't really practice, obviously, or do you have some set things that to say to each other? I mean, just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. I think with improv, it's like you either love it or you don't,
Yeah.
and, and so we, so many people in Los Angeles come to LA and they want to be actors and things like that. And all these agencies will say like, hey, you got to have improv experience on your resume.
Really?
And so that's why these improv theaters are so popular, is because,
Okay.
these actors come to take improv 101 at the Groundlings or Second City or IO or at UCB. And so, that happens in 101, that improv 101. And then it's like, a lot of those people say, hey, I'm going to do this again for Improv 201. And that's when they start introducing a little bit more of the rules of long form improv. I mean, I say rules, they're kind of these unofficial rules of like, hey, like if you want to be good at it, you got to do it this way. And there is a technique and there are things that you need to follow. You start learning this improv long form called the Herald, and it gets really hard, like pretty quick.
So there's a lot of study that goes into it. It's not just being funny.
There is. I mean, being funny, and like there are people who are naturally funny and naturally gifted, but there definitely is a form and a way to do it. And so what happens is a lot of these people who kind of sign up for Improv 101 just thinking like, hey, this is a fun thing to do, realize like, hey, this is like not as fun as I thought it was, and they get out of it pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so you start realizing, okay, like this other person I'm doing the class with, you start seeing these people more, and you're like, hey, you're funny. We kind of work well together. We have sort of similar sensibilities. And so I think it was like Improv 201 or 301. I started hosting this practice group. You mentioned the thing about practicing. We would hire an improv coach and just do like extra practicing outside of class. And, you had people who would kind of come, not all the time, but sometimes. And there were a few people that just sort of were always there and you just kind of had a good relationship with. And so that's kind of how our team formed. And then we just started doing shows together. And yeah, I mean, it's just the more you hang out, the more you perform, you kind of start to know or be able to sort of predict what the other person's going to do or how they're going to, and so it just kind of works well together.
That's amazing.
But you have a good
That's great.
dynamic with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the funny thing is I haven't done it in several years, I
Yeah.
think both with COVID shut down the theater for a long time. And so our show had basically ended. And, and then just with kids, like I have kids now and it's just a different life, different life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, 2016, you were at Disney. Are you still in, that's 10 years ago. So you're still in the promo department or have you moved past that or,
Yeah. So I had bounced around a little bit. I did Disney XD and then was kind of, did stuff for Disney Channel and Disney Junior. And then when they launched Disney Plus, I started doing stuff for that. I did a couple launches for some shows on Disney Plus. And then about 3.5 years ago, I joined this other team that is part of the Disney Studios group, and it's a creative advertising agency. It's like an in-house agency, essentially. We work for the studios, and we do trailers and promos for Disney Studios content, and actually now it includes more things. It includes Disney Parks and Disney Cruise Line and things like that. But the team that I'm on, we started, I think it was actually around 2016. Yeah, it would have been 2016. It started from the Force Awakens trailer. They had given, they didn't want the film to leave the studio lot because of security reasons and things like that. So they said, hey, we're going to edit the trailer here on the lot. And they started this like sort of small agency where they were working on that trailer. And then it was such a huge success. That trailer is amazing. And they said, okay, let's start giving this team more secure titles. So Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, and was that Infinity War? Is that the name of the movie? I can't
they all
remember.
run together.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Infinity Wars. I don't know.
Yeah. And Endgame, and so that was sort of how this team was born, and now it's just sort of evolved into like, we still do trailers, we still do promos for these movies, but we also do Disney Parks, we do Disney brand as a whole, we do stuff for Cruise Line, like I said, and
I saw one for your cruise line with Robert Downey Jr.
We just did that recently, and that was really cool. That was pretty amazing actually, because like the cruise lines, they have each Disney cruise line ship has what they call a godparent, which basically is like a kind of an unofficial spokesperson, and they christen the ship, and they
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So in the past, it's funny you mentioned Mariah Carey. I think Mariah Carey is the godparent of the fantasy ship.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah. And
Which is
so yeah,
wild.
they had this brand new ship. They had this brand new ship going out of Singapore called the Adventure Ship, and it has this Avengers or Marvel. It's a Marvel landing, and it's got like this Avengers area and an Iron Man cycle roller coaster. And so yeah, they reached out to Robert Downey Jr., asked him to be the godparent, and he said yes.
He agreed. Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
so we did a piece that was basically announcing Robert Downey Jr. as the godparent, and it was pretty cool, man. We wrote this thing, and it was a kind of a mixed media. Started with him on camera, but then went to this like stop motion thing with animation, and so we got to shoot with Robert on the ship, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was really cool.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Was he cool to work with? Was he enjoyable?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
That's
I mean,
great.
I loved it. Yeah, it was a really fun day, and he
That's
was
nice.
great. I think he was really like excited about it, and
That's good.
yeah, it was cool. It was
That's
really
really nice. You've made a great career there. It sounds
Yeah.
like, and it's if you've been there that long, obviously something's clicking and working.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate, honestly. I've loved my time being there, and have just learned so much and continued to learn so much. And really, really grateful for the opportunities. I mean, and I think that like I just always want to continue learning.
Yeah.
That's kind of always been my thing of like, okay, what can I do that I haven't done yet, and how can I get my hands dirty, so to speak, and get in there and like do stuff. And
Open up doors of
yeah,
opportunity.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Really fun.
Well, that kind of I have another question that kind of introduces another thought is like, what's the future now? What's your like hopes and dreams?
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, I'm so like thankful to have had this life with Kate, and we have 4 kids, and I don't even know how that happened.
What
Like
are their
having 4
ages? Tell us their ages.
Currently 9, 6, 3, and 1.
Okay. I guess
yeah.
you don't know how it happens because it keeps
Yeah.
happening.
Can you guys explain it to me?
Off air.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotta think of the name of this podcast.
Yeah, we gotta keep it rated PG.
Yeah, no, I mean, God has just so blessed us, and just, I mean, we really have like left it to him, and we've prayed about things and like seen how different doors have been shut and different doors have been opened, and
Yeah.
it's been really amazing. I mean, life
Yeah.
is a little bit crazy and overwhelming at times with having
Mhm.
4 kids and a crazy demanding job, but Kate's an amazing partner to like work with, and just navigate parenthood and this life with. It's really
Is
incredible.
she still in nursing?
Yeah, so she actually like was an ICU nurse at this pediatric hospital in Los Angeles for so many years. I think it's 13 years total.
Mhm.
She was a nurse there. Once we had our third, it was a little too much for her to work,
Yeah.
try to navigate working throughout the week, and so she resigned, and she's actually a school nurse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is great.
So maybe a little better hours.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
guess one question I would have is, in the entertainment business, sometimes it's not always a Christian environment or putting out Christian content or, even content someone agrees with. Have you ever had trouble reconciling that in your life, or, like a cognitive dissonance, between what you're doing and what, is being put out with a company or things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about that a lot. And, I'm sure there's like a scripture that I could back myself up with here and just sort of like support myself. But, I have always kind of thought about, and I guess you could maybe say like Matthew 6 about being the light of the world and the salt of the earth,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I try to bring that energy and that mindset with me wherever I go, and think like, okay, I know that in my job as both an employee, as a believer, I'm trying to like bring light into this world and bring glory to God in my actions and my activity. And I do think, yeah, there's definitely a part of me that like wrestles with like, okay, like obviously some material on this movie or this show or whatever isn't something that I totally feel comfortable with or agree with, but like this is also like my job, and I'm providing for my family and things like that. So but yeah, sure, there's definitely a part of me that like wrestles with that.
Yeah. Well, I can I mean, just even in the entertainment business, I mean, every company you work for, if it's a large corporation or larger than, a few people, you don't always have the say in, what's put out or what's done with every aspect. So that's understandable. It's just, probably a lot of people wrestle or deal with that. So I was just kind of curious. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, and and entertainment has always kind of been a hard area to navigate, even going back to being a kid, and seeing certain things and scripts come in that my parents would be like, like, it's probably not a good idea for you to do this one,
Well, it shows, it seems like a lot of people that start early in entertainment end up messed up, and then obviously you have not. So that's a great thing.
Well,
Probably
that might be subjective.
you don't appear messed up. How's that?
Oh, good. Okay, that's good.
You
That's
appear
good.
pretty stable.
Yeah.
Good.
That's great.
Yeah. No, I think it's always just been important for me to like keep a head on my good head on my shoulders, and that goes. That's a lot of personal work as well, and thankfully, I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear me say thankfully, but like I have a bit of a commute to get to the office and stuff like that. So it's a lot of time for me to sit and kind of alone with my thoughts and or listen to different podcasts or things like that that sort of like help me get me in the right mindset, and of course, like going back to my wife, like she is such an amazing spiritual partner in my life. And,
it's great.
And so I think too, like raising kids, making sure we're on the same page there, and like just making sure like the priorities are set, what is the priority? And like, so also being a good example as far as like, what does work look like? What does a work-life balance look like? And where are the priorities,
Yeah.
So,
would you ever put your kids into acting now, or do they act?
That's a good it's a good question. I would be cautious. I'd be very cautious to approach it. They have done a couple things here and there, but nothing like major. So like my daughter loves drama. She's very involved with drama at her school. She likes performing. I think that like if I wish I could go back in times in my life and introduce voiceover way earlier in my life. I think that is a very interesting avenue to explore for performing, and it's a fulfilling area to be in as well. And so I think that on camera for my kids makes me a little nervous for a lot of reasons. Voiceover I'm a little bit more comfortable with, but I think like live performing like at their school and stuff like that, it's great.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I approach it cautiously but open-minded, I think, it's a different time than it was when I was a kid, and
Sure. Yeah,
it's a lot trickier to, I feel like, navigate the right way. I just want to make their safety, and also like just their is a priority for me. So yeah. It's funny though, like my son River, he has such a look to him, like where he's just like I feel like belongs in commercials, And it's funny because like a couple producers at Disney, like they've reached out to me for certain things, and they're like, hey, we need like a boy who's like at Disneyland, he's like looking kind of like in awe, and I'm like, oh, I've got plenty of that on my camera, and I like passed it over to them. They're like, do you happen to have anything of him like on Small World where he's like looks at you and he like waves? I'm like, I actually do. Like, I'm gonna give that to you.
Wow.
And so yeah, there's been some cool stuff that's popped
great.
up for that.
Yeah, that's great. Let's see, George, any other questions for him at
You
this
do a
point.
really good job at just telling your story and filling in the gaps where I might
Yeah,
have
for
asked
sure.
a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I hope so. Sorry if it was like really long. I felt
No,
like
it's
it took a
great.
long
It
time.
was
No,
really
it was
interesting.
good.
Feel
It
free
was
to edit
captivating.
any of it out.
I'm assuming you
Most
can
of
hook
it.
us up with Robert Downey and Mariah Carey for the podcast to be our upcoming guests. And
I know you keep saying Mariah Carey. I don't think I've ever actually met
I don't know
her.
why I said that. It just
You really
I started
want to
with
talk
it and
to
it kept
Mariah.
going. Okay, Robert Downey, Martha Stewart, Snoop Dogg, they could all be on the pod. Conan,
Yeah,
hook 'em
man.
up.
Oh man,
give
Conan
me
would be great.
Give me their digits.
You know, it's funny, like certain things like that have happened over the time, like being in LA and just like weird, with situations where you're like, this is so strange, like that this is happening right now, I remember
Yeah.
my boss back at Conan, like he and I got pretty close, and we would go on these hikes together in Griffith, area and like stuff like that. And um, he would always occasionally be like, "Hey, my other buddy's going to come with us or whatever," and he had been in this industry for so long. So there were a couple hikes that we would go on where it'd be like, I'd look over and I'd be like, "Your friend is so and so," like, it's like, like we would hike with like Freddie Prinze Jr.'s, like it's just
Oh,
like,
wow.
and yeah, so there's like stuff like that that's happened where you're kind of like, well, that's kind of strange,
It's cool.
but
It's interesting.
I feel like I don't really have any celebrity friends, so sorry, I can't
Probably for the best.
open those
okay.
doors.
Okay. All right. Well, so, we like to talk about entertainment here some. So what is your, these are mundane-ish questions, but do you have a favorite movie in your life or favorite TV show or something that you're watching right now that you're just, that you're really loving? And it doesn't have to be a Disney show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, man, favorite movie one. I definitely have like I can go and I can turn on anytime, and I just like love to have on because it's like a little bit of a comfort thing for me. I think like I think about like Interstellar is like one of my favorites, and Whiplash is, I don't know how, that's not PG.
That's
But,
Okay.
and I don't want to recommend that one, but man, that's one of those movies that like if I accidentally turn on or if it's on, I can't stop. I can't look away from it. It really is like the perfect train wreck of a movie
The anxiety
in the
pulls
best
you in.
way. Yeah. There's this movie that I always recommend to people just because I feel like it was so well done. But the movie About Time has like throughout my life, I feel like I watched it earlier on in my marriage, and now it's so different being a parent watching it again. And so that's one that like I'll watch every once in a while and just like love every time I watch it.
Yeah, that was one that when we ended our episode on our favorite movies, I forgot to mention that one, and that one is up there for me.
Yeah, it's an excellent movie.
So
Yeah.
good, just a good observation about life and
Yes.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
I mean, I think
dad
like
scene is really
yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think like a more stereotypical answer of like timeless kind of classic films. Like I've always loved Forrest Gump. I know that's like a little cheesy or whatever, but like Forrest Gump is like a great movie. It's funny because like when you ask about shows, my wife and I are always trying to find a show or a movie, like kind of like the perfect like benchmark or whatever. I don't know what you would call it, of like, okay, this movie, you also like this movie. We're always trying to find like a Mystic River type movie because like Mystic River is so good, and Mare of Easttown, that was such a great series, and we're always like trying to find like this great sort of like thriller kind of intriguing, movie like that.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as like stuff lately, I loved Project Hail Mary. I read the book, and I really was happy with how they did the movie. I thought it was really fun. I liked it. I know a lot of people are kind of like, I didn't know it was going to be like that. But
Really?
yeah, I think a lot of people were kind of surprised. But we just watched the second season of The Pit. I
How do
really
you like
like
The Pit? Do you like it?
I actually like it's totally not my type of show. I would
Okay.
never want to watch that type of show.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Really?
I watched it because my wife was like, I want to see if this is like, she's always kind of judging how accurate
Oh
certain
yeah.
shows are, like in the medical field. She's like, it's unbelievable how accurate it is. And it's like, she's amazed by it. And so, because she was so into it, I was like, I want to watch this too. And so, it was great. I loved it. We watched, Task with Mark Ruffalo, which was great. Um, and then there's certain shows like for me that I love that my wife just like doesn't get as into, and I would call them like my comfort comedy shows, like Nathan For You. I don't know if you've ever watched Nathan For You, but
No, I haven't.
oh my goodness, you got to watch it. It's it's so good, man. It was on Comedy Central for years, and then they moved it. I think I think it lives on HBO now, but. This comedian Nathan Fielder, he's just there's just not many people like him.
I'll check that
So,
out.
yeah. It's he's very dry. He's a very dry humor, but the crazy thing is like he never breaks character, which is fascinating to me. It's like so great to watch. But what else? I always when I'm talking to people about like movies that like I feel like stuck with me for so long. Did you guys ever see the movie Bernie? I feel like please say you have.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
being at churchgoers in Texas, I feel like it's like it must be essential for you to watch that.
My
Required
favorite
watching.
scene is where he's breaking down Texas.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And he's like, and West Texas, that's a question mark.
yeah. Man, like I
Which is where
didn't
we
know what to
live.
expect. Yeah, I did
Right.
not know what to expect by that movie, but man, it stuck with me. I'm like, it's so good.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
great. Those are all
yeah.
good.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that it's like. I mean, The Office will always be one that I can turn on anytime, and
Mm-hmm.
just like
Always, yeah.
I've only actually finished this whole series like maybe twice, maybe three times. I was like took a while for me to actually watch like season 8 and 9.
That was hard,
But
yeah. As soon as
yeah,
Michael leaves, yeah.
yeah, I'll go turn on a random episode from like season 2 or 3 or 4. So good.
How did that compare? Like, have you seen Parks and Rec?
Yeah, I loved Parks and Rec. I actually did like Parks and Rec.
Me
I have
too.
not rewatched Parks and Rec much.
Mm.
I need to. I would give it a rewatch for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's up there. I feel like they're the same for me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's. I mean, I think one of my all-time favorite shows is Freaks and Geeks, and The Wonder Years was a great. I mean, I just that was the show I feel like growing up that I kind of latched onto as a
What do you
kid.
think about all these reboots? They did a Wonder Years reboot. I think they did Malcolm in the Middle reboot.
Yeah.
They're doing all these
Yeah.
reboots. Frasier. It's like I don't
Yeah,
know. It feels like it's just recycled stuff.
I know everything's getting a reboot or a sequel. I think it's hard because first of all, it's getting harder and harder. I feel like to come up with original ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that they're not out there, but it's I think harder to find ones. And then it's just like risk. It's risks. It's a
Mhm.
huge risk to go out on something original. You have these things that are like, okay, we know that having this cast come back is probably gonna like bring a certain audience.
Mhm.
I'll be actually really interested to see what Devil Wears Prada 2, like the numbers
Mhm.
after
Yeah.
its box
Mhm.
office run, just because they got everybody back, and it had like a pretty big following, and 20 years, I think 20 years have passed, so that'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My wife was a
Kinda
huge
sucks about that.
Frasier fan. She loved the original show, and then they did the reboot, and she only watched a couple episodes. She said it just wasn't, it wasn't the same. So I don't know. I mean, I was trying to think. I think some of those they just don't. It doesn't have the same appeal. Just when it comes
exactly.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly. I mean, you're always hopeful that they're gonna like be able to like
recapture it.
capture that
Yeah.
that magic and that lightning in a bottle that they had,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to think of one that might have like actually worked. I don't
I
know.
don't think there is one.
Yeah,
I
Is
don't
there?
know.
I mean, this
Well-
is like so different from kind of like sitcoms and stuff like that. But I mean, they did the Blade Runner 2049, and I actually
Mhm.
love that. I thought that was really good.
Mm.
I think pretty decent sequel.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, a show started 20 years ago, and they're bringing it back, and it's like, wow, is that even,
Yeah.
are those people still alive,
I know.
to watch it?
I know.
I'm a huge X-Files fan. I love the
Oh, okay.
X-Files, and then they came back and did a couple of like reboots, and one season was really good. The second one was just, I don't know, it was just a dud, and then the way it ended was a dud, and it was just very depressing. I don't even, the way it ended, I didn't even play like it ended. I just made it my own ending in my head because it was so bad. It just wasn't good. So it's like sometimes you just have to leave it alone. Leave it alone.
And sometimes it's funny how like sometimes there are things that are good. Like for instance, there's Breaking Bad, of course, is like this perfect show, and then they had that like that extra movie that came out. What was it, El Camino or something like
That's
that?
right. Yeah.
And it was good. It was pretty good. But like, I haven't felt the desire to like go back and rewatch that movie.
I will say, I mean, to your point, like the Better Call Saul, like prequel or kind of that was pretty good. That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
I really loved that TV show.
Yeah. But I will say, like, to kind of pivot a little bit and transition. It's been fun having kids, and now like being able to, of course, like with kids and especially younger kids, you kind of rewatch the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. But now, like with my daughter getting to be 9 and River being 6, you kind of get to this point where you're like, okay, what was a good movie from like my childhood that we could try to watch? And a lot of those, like, you kind of forget about certain things, and you're like, okay, this is not. So how was I allowed to watch this at 8 years old?
Yeah.
So to that point, my wife and I always loved the movie Chicago. I mean, I wasn't a kid then. But we were just first dating, I think, when it came out. And then we saw the Broadway show, and I was really depressed with the Broadway show, or it was just not good. The movie, though, was excellent. So we watched it with my son, and then so then I was like, oh man, I forgot how raunchy this movie was with my, with my son here. There's like a lot of, it was just like a lot of implied things, and it was kind of like, oh, wow, I forgot that. And then the other night we watched Clue with him because there's a Clue Broadway show coming to town that we're going to see. So we watched the Clue movie, and it was hilarious. And it was just my favorite kind of, like, it was from probably 86 or whatever, It was one of some of my favorite types of humor. It was really funny. But But Miss Scarlet in the Clue movie is not Asian, and she should be Asian because on the board game, the original board game, she's an Asian, and that's how I grew up playing it. She's Asian, and she should be in the movie. But besides that, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So, that's my 2 cents on that. Yeah.
You should write that on IMDb.
On the
complaint.
Should have been Let your new letterbox.
That's probably culturally inappropriate for me to say. Yeah. But
no. You're probably, that's actually like, I feel like more cultural appropriate.
Well, on the old board box game, she was laid out on the chaise lounge, and she had one of those long smoker deals, and she was an Asian. And then Leslie Ann Warren played her in the movie, and she was funny, but she wasn't right physical for me. So
yeah.
Well, Ryan, we've kept you a long time. I appreciate you talking to us.
Oh, I think I've kept you a long time.
It's been a great time. I enjoyed it a bunch.
No, really.
Interview, great talk. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. And feel free to edit anything out that you don't want. Trim it down a little bit.
Just my random comments, probably.
Yeah. Now, I did get a question before we started rolling about Jimmy Fallon. I do these Jimmy Fallon impressions. I don't know why, but so in New York when I was working at the Conan show, Jimmy came in to do the late night. He took over late night when Conan left, and so we were in. I can never remember if it was Studio 6A or Studio 6B. I think we were in 6A and he was in 6B, and so right across the hall, from each other. He's getting his show set up, and we're finishing our show, and so they had interns from the Conan show go down and watch Jimmy's rehearsals and test shows and things like that, and so you always saw Jimmy like walking around, and it's just like, of course there's pressure on him to have this new show, and he's got this like high energy and stuff like that, and I saw him one night. I was like leaving, and he was waiting for the elevator, so it's just the two of us, and I was like, I was like, hey, Jimmy, like, I've been watching rehearsals and it's really funny. Like, I think it's going to be great, and he's like, hey, buddy. Oh my gosh, buddy. Really? Oh my gosh, buddy. Thank you. Thank you so much, buddy. You think so? Really?
That's really good.
And yeah,
He kind of always has a little bit of like it sounds like he has a little bit of a cold all the time. It's a little
really? That's funny.
That's how
That's
I hear
funny.
it. Yeah, like he has a little bit of a stuffed up sound.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. I always had like and then I would have a couple more interactions with him after that. But like he was always really friendly and really nice. And I actually like growing up watching SNL and comedy and stuff like that. Like I always felt like Jimmy was a really good impersonator. Like he could do some really great impressions, and he was musically talented. And like I always really like thought he was really good. I know that he's got some critics out there for sure, but
No, he is
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
good SNL years.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, man.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate it.
So yeah, I'm glad I sneak that impression there.
We're glad you got it. We may have to have you back for another. Just do impression. Do you do other impressions? Is that a full another show?
I think it is another show. Yeah, it's
Okay.
another show. I can give you a list. Have
Okay.
some call-ins. Have
Okay.
some callers.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Excellent. Very good.
All right.
Well, we appreciate your time, and it's been a great talk, great interview. Nice to get to know you.
Yeah. Likewise. Yeah. Thanks so
Okay.
much for asking me.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right.
Okay.
For everybody watching, we appreciate it. Subscribe to the podcast, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.